Welcome back to the Trackside podcast. How nice is it that we have all of us back together? We obviously had me and Will last time. Before that, I missed my first ever one, and it was just Will and Ollie, but the trio is back together. Nice to have you both back, boys. Nice to have, well, Will's never gone, but it's nice to all be back.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, unfortunately for me, due to work, I haven't been able to watch pretty much any of the racing this weekend. So essentially, you boys are going to be filling me in on what has happened. I've seen the results, I've seen the drama.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I didn't get to see any laps of Formula One. Formula 2, I saw the start of the feature race on Sunday, but didn't get to see the finish. So realistically, my weekend has been hindered and I haven't been able to watch any motorsport. It's been horrible.
So
What about you,
does
Will?
that mean since leaving the uni accommodation and us all going home, I am the most consistent?
No, I'm still here in Wembley, by the way.
For this season.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Since leaving Wembley, I am the most consistent.
Oh, hang on a minute. Are we talking about podcast appearances?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Oh, well then, yeah, you are.
Look at me holding down the ship. Come on. I am the rock. Yeah. I am holding it.
Well, to be fair, it's you'll be happy you're here as well for a certain segment at the end of the episode. But we're a long way from there. We are a long way from there. So we will start with feeder series. Ollie, I know you said you haven't watched much, but if you just want to sort of give us a quick 2 to 5 minute rundown of it all before we get into with all due respect, the real action of the weekend, because there is unbelievable drama to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, and as I said, I haven't been able to watch any of the feeder series, so gutting for me. There was Formula 3 on as well and the Porsche Super Cup. And I think I've said a lot about tracks that deserve to be in the feeder series calendar, and Austria is certainly one of them. It's a high-speed track, some great overtaking chances, 3 separate DRS zones, which is just ridiculous and helps overtaking a lot of the time in the feeder series. And yeah, I was gutted to miss it because I do love Austria as a track. Playing it on the F1 game, I know it's a lot different to playing it in driving it in real life. Like we say, pretty much every single episode. I just love the track. It's brilliant, fast paced, and in free practice, the Frenchman Isaac Hadjar from the Red Bull Academy set the fastest lap time, but couldn't convert that into pole position in the qualifying later on in the day. Dennis Halgert took that accolade. Now, unfortunately for him, despite starting on pole, he stalled his car in the feature race, meaning he had to get wheeled back into the pit lane, and basically all chances of a win were lost for him. But I've skipped ahead from the qualifying to the feature and missed out the sprint, which for us, and I don't know if you two have seen who the winner was, but a very, very good result. Ollie Bierman with his first win of the season in the Premier, which has been struggling all year. I mean, I think Ollie started, I want to say, third for the sprint, and then 8th, obviously, for the feature, I do believe. And Antonelli started 16th for both races. So in qualifying, not really great performances, but obviously Bierman got his first win of the season in a struggling car and in a struggling team, really, not where they should be. So it's a great result for him and a great result for all us Brits. And I mean, British winners, that rings a bell for the rest of the weekend. And then on...
Jump ahead. Just jump that gun.
I'm talking about the football.
Yeah. Great weekend.
But to follow up from the feature race, from the sprint race, Gabriel Bortoleto took I believe it's his first win of his Formula 2 career. So great performance from the young Brazilian, obviously McLaren Academy driver. He now sits third in the standings in the championship, with Isaac Hadjar in second and Paul Aron in his rookie season still in first in the championship. So the Estonian doing really, really well. Again, as it's clear in any motorsport, if you're not winning the race, you need to be up there fighting for as many points as possible. And Aron is doing that. He's performing fantastically this year. I'm really surprised with how well he's performing. but it's nice to see that someone that you didn't expect to do as well is doing this well. So congratulations to Dennis Hauger, Ollie Bierman and Bortoletto for their accolades this weekend. Obviously, pole position for qualifying for Hauger, and then victories for both Bierman and Bortoletto in the sprint and feature races. And then finally, the biggest congratulations to Paul Aaron, Isaac Hadjar and Gabriel Bortoletto taking up the front three of the championship. Now, before we get on to Formula One, big news has broken today for the Formula 2 drivers, and I'm not sure if you two have seen this.
I have not.
But there is some news going into this race weekend, obviously being Silverstone, that a certain driver in the Formula 2 grid is taking his first ever FP1 session at Silverstone, that being Franco Colapinto, the Williams Academy driver. So he recently became the first ever Argentinian to win in Formula 2 after his win in
Monza.
Imola.
Not Monza, Imola.
So the young Argentinian, becoming the first Argentinian to win in Formula 2, has now got his first ever free practice drive in Formula 1 for Williams this weekend at Silverstone. So
play to him.
Huge congratulations to him. And I think...
wonder how Zach O'Sullivan feels.
Yeah, I mean... I don't know, actually. I think it's a good question, because obviously O'Sullivan won in Monaco as well. So I reckon he'll get his chance later on in the season. Obviously, Abu Dhabi is like the hot spot for Formula 1 tests. Yeah. So I reckon O'Sullivan will get his chance there. But yeah, huge congratulations to Franco. Obviously, his rookie season in Formula 2. And he's got a call up to drive an F1 car for the FP1. So
Ollie, just before we move on to Formula 1, can I very, very, very quickly get your takes on Arrow McLaren dropping Théo Pourchaire?
You just basically killed a cat in front of him.
I seriously... I mean, the team are...
They're ruthless.
Yeah, I mean, it's... Ever since they've been part of IndyCar, I think it's been a real struggle for them to keep a hold of the drivers that they want. And they're as you said, they seem to be very ruthless. And to drop him after... I think it's 2 full races. I don't understand. I was raving about him so much last year, being Formula 2 champion, brilliant drive, pretty much week in, week out, for then to go and do 2 races. He even put a post on Twitter saying, "Oh my God, I'm racing at Laguna Seca. I'm absolutely buzzing to be here." And then to be dropped the day before qualifying. It's like, it's almost like I don't know what he has to do to get a place anywhere in a top motorsport team, because he is a top driver. He's better than, I would argue and say he's probably better than most of the drivers. Not most, but I'd say at least 25-30% of the drivers on the Formula 1 grid, I would say he's better than.
Wow.
And the fact that he's not got a seat.
Name drop right now.
Stroll, Sargent, Magnussen, Hulkenberg, Joe, Bottas, Ricciardo. Oh my God, how did I forget Ricciardo? But I don't know what the man has to do to get a drive. He showed his class last year, and it's heartbreaking that he just isn't in a top seat in motorsport.
Cruel business, motorsport, isn't it? It's becoming a cruel business. And I think it's not like he hasn't... Would you say, again, like you said earlier, being consistent is the biggest thing in any series. And yeah, it's just a shame, like you say, considering the talent that he has. But I'm sure we'll see him in something. He'll either go to DTM or maybe Formula E. Maybe I don't know. It'd be interesting, but yeah, I don't know where that leaves him. But I do agree with you that it's a bit of a waste right now.
Also, as well, I did actually just very quickly try to keep it very short, but it was obviously also the first time all 3 of us have been together since you both went to Le Mans. How was that?
Oh wow, just absolutely incredible! Like I mean, Ollie, I feel bad for you because you were ill most of it.
Most of it, I think I was in the toilet more than I actually saw racing. So
24 hours of toilet.
It was. It was.
24 hours of la toilet. It was just incredible. Don't get me wrong, I've always said that F1 is incredible, and most people who follow motorsport say that F1, it's incredible. But for me, the pinnacle of a racing event, Ben, I know you love Silverstone, but there is nothing like the week from Sunday to Sunday of Le Mans. Just an entire week dedicated to one thing is just incredible.
The funny thing is, right? So obviously, Formula One has always been my motorsport category, right? Out of, I guess, let's say the top three being endurance racing, IndyCar, and Formula One.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, Formula One, as I've said, that is my favorite category. But if you were to rank the Triple Crown events, for me, Monaco comes in number 3.
Yeah. I think Le Mans is. I think you say to anyone, would you rather win? I think if you say to any racing driver, would you rather win Le Mans or Monaco, they would say Le Mans. And if you said to some of them, would you rather win Le Mans or a world championship? Some of them could potentially say Le Mans. But take it from me. Don't take it from me though, because I'm not going to be biased towards Le Mans. Ollie, you knew Formula One. All you knew was, let's be honest, you knew IndyCar and Formula One and F2. Give me your honest thought on Le Mans from what you remember of it, considering how ill you was. But as someone who has now experienced it after knowing nothing but open wheel racing, give your thoughts. That's the best thing.
I think so. Obviously, it's hard for me to say because I loved it. Being there was fantastic. I'm so glad I went. It was a fantastic weekend and thoroughly enjoyed it. But it was just kind of overshadowed by the fact I was terribly food poisoned. And yeah, it was. I think the best way to describe it is it's one of those things. You know that kind of saying of you don't realize how big it is until you're there.
Yeah.
It was that kind of feeling. We got there on the Thursday, and we got into our hotel or Airbnb, and we were just like, right, okay, qualifying's on tonight. Let's just go and watch that. And I was like, okay, not many people are going to be there. It's qualifying 2 days before the race. Got there, honestly, there wasn't a place. I sent a picture to both of you. I was sitting on a bin just so I could find a seat and see the racing, or not the racing, but the qualifying. It was phenomenal. And so me, my dad and my brother, we were sitting on turn 1, and I was like, okay, they're going to be quick, but I didn't know how quick they were going to be. And when they were on I think it was the BMW, when it was on its fast lap, there was the first car that we saw come round. We all just looked at each other like, oh my God, like this is phenomenal. And it was great to be there. It was a great weekend. And I mean, the result, only 14 seconds split in the top 2 after 24 hours of racing. Like, it doesn't make, like, how? But I think the fact as well is, obviously, Will, you've said to me about, oh, you need to be there for Friday. Friday is really cool. We got to walk the first 6 or 7 corners of the track. We got to walk down the pit lane as well. I even got to see Alex Palou doing his seat changes. So that was great for me. We saw Bruno Famin walking down the pit lane as well. So it was one of these events that, as I said, you don't realise how big it is until you're there. But at the same time, you don't realise how cool it is until you're there as well. Like, the atmosphere was phenomenal. The commentary as well, watching it back the next day, the commentary in all the different languages, the Spanish commentators singing at 2 a.m. in the morning. It was.
Can I play devil's advocate though?
If
Go
you
on.
dare disrespect,
Can I play devil's advocate?
be very careful with what you're about to say.
So when I said to you that I would put Monaco at 3, I stick by that. But I'd put the Indy 500 at 1. And the reason that I would say that is because all motorsport is a team event, but the 24 hours, obviously, not one driver is driving for 24 hours, whereas the Indy 500, it's you for 200 laps. And, it's just you.
True. The only thing I would say with that is, it is just you for 200 laps. But each driver does an average of 6 or at a minimum of 6 hours. And the
which
Indy
is obviously, it's still
yeah,
unbelievable.
and they're like an hour and a half stints. Like, bear in mind they do 12 laps, and then they have to refuel the cars and change the tires after 12 laps. Like, but remember, it's a 3 minute 30 lap time, so it is. I think it's. I do think. I understand what you're saying. It's you doing 200 laps, and your concentration has to be insane. But to sit in a car for an hour and a half, you know, and then overall for 6 hours through day and night and sunrise stuff like that, I think it's the most challenging thing.
If I had to play devil's advocate, you could say that an average Formula One race is an hour and a half, and then if you were to include practice, sort of qualifying and race, they probably spend over the course of a weekend many hours in a car.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know practice isn't racing mindset, but again, I'm only playing devil's advocate.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get what you're saying.
Realistically, in hindsight, if we'd all had the time, it would have been great to actually debrief the whole of the Le Mans weekend. Obviously, me and Will being there, it would have been great to actually go through it. Obviously, the time's now gone. It's been 2 weeks since the race has happened. So it's a bit like, as much as I'd love to go, oh yeah, let's do an episode now.
Yeah, I know.
One, I didn't have the time because I went from coming back from France and the next day flying to Santorini. And then obviously F1 was there as well.
Right for some.
Yeah.
To be fair, I am going to Vienna on Wednesday, and it's going to be the second time that I've flown to a country directly after they had their race. So I went to Italy after Imola, and I'm now going to Vienna after Austria. Now I know it's completely different because Milan is not Imola and Vienna is not Spielberg, but sometimes like you could still sort of feel the vibrant in the city. Because as well, when I went to Milan, that's when Sainz had just won in Australia, I want to say. So you could actually feel like the buzz in the city. So I wonder if George Russell has got many fans in Austria for dethroning the Austrian team. No. Yeah. But listen, I think that is probably a great opportunity to move into Formula One now. So we have been treated to an all-timer, right? And I know people might go, "Oh, behave yourself," because for 62 laps nothing happened. Well, come on. But the way Formula One has been these last few years, you have to take something like this and run with it. You have to be, because can I be honest? When's the last time, genuinely, when is the last time, unless my mind has gone blank and I'm forgetting seriously, when is the last time since 2021 two front runners have crashed into each other and the guy in third's gone through? Seriously. I can't even think of like a Turn 1 incident. We're talking 2021.
No, I think the last time.
Point, yeah.
So, and listen, we're going to go through team by team, talk about the weekends. Obviously, it's a sprint weekend, but let's not hide it. Let's go straight into it. Max Verstappen, Lando Norris. I have been praying for times like these that we would finally see someone take a battle to him. Because how many times? What did I tag you in? I tagged you in.
I could quote it.
Right.
A lot of journalists were saying Max has returned to his old self and his old ways, and someone turned around and this was. I mean, as soon as I read it, I agree with it perfectly. He hasn't returned to his old ways.
He never changed.
He wasn't challenged. Yeah, like you say, and you finally see it side. And what's crazy about it is, and no one's even. We're not playing. Oh, PR. We got to sit on the fence with this. Sky, McLaren, Lando, who's Max's best mate in the world, remember, is turning around and saying it's his fault. He moved over. He squeezed him. And for that is incredible. Like we're not sitting on the fence here. We're not playing PR. Oh, we can't blame people. Let's throw him under the bus because this is incredible.
this is my take, and obviously we're all entitled to our own take, and I'm very excited to hear what you have to say. But this is my take. So again, if you want, go and follow us on Twitter, TrackSidePodF1. This was my take that I put out during the battle. Lap 59, I tweeted, Lando has thrown this race away. He was one track limits violation away from a penalty and has unnecessarily dive bombed Verstappen into T3 and now looks set for a 5-second penalty. So at that point, lap 59, I was telling myself Lando has thrown this race away because he would have received a penalty for obviously track limits, and then that would have been it. And even if he managed to get past Verstappen, he wasn't going to. I didn't believe he'd be able to 5-second gap with like 11 laps to go or whatever, 12. Now, that's not to say that the few laps before that, it was Verstappen was constantly moving under braking, which you cannot do. It's like a gentleman's agreement. You cannot do that. And the fact that he came out after as well and goes, well, I drive the car. I know what I'm doing. Every single person in the world could see that you were literally moving under braking, or you were moving in the braking zone. One or the two, whether you weren't braking, you were in the braking zone and you were moving. So at that point, I really felt for Lando, and I could see, and people going, well, he was doing unnecessary dive bombs. He didn't need to do that. He had the pace, but I could see why he was getting frustrated that he could feel a crash was going to come. Max was not yielding. And then they crash because Max moves in the braking zone under braking. I will be honest, though, the amount of contact, I was surprised at the severity of what ended up happening. It didn't feel as though they should both come out with rapid punctures and the tyre flying everywhere. But it was crazy. And then, sorry, Will. Sorry, Will. The last bit I will say, the crash is one thing. But what has really made my blood boil more than any of... No, seriously, more than any of it. Because, listen, run the tapes back. How positive have I been about Max in these past few weeks? Don't make it out as though I'm just some Max hater. I have been...
He's back. He's so back. We're so back. Get on that Max hate hype train right now.
Listen,
we are so back.
I've supported his past few races since Imola. He's been fantastic. But what has really made my blood boil even more is even after they both have punctures, he pushes Lando onto the grass. At that point, he's not even thinking, oh, right, hang on, forget like the race here. The main objective is getting back to the pits. He still is trying to keep Lando behind him. Like, you both got punctures, lad. Like, honestly.
Well, at that point, we didn't think Lando had one. And you said about the severity of the contact. I can understand Max getting a puncture because obviously his rear tyre hits the side skirt of the McLaren. I could not work out, though, how all of a sudden Lando's car went from being perfectly fine to up in the air like that, like on a tilt when it going around. I was like, how's that happened? He looks fine. But, yeah, absolutely crazy. And
there's only one goat that can win on 3 wheels.
That as well, I could not believe him then try. Because even the commentary team were going, Max won't let him pass. He will not let him pass.
Mate.
And it's the fact that he's doing it all the way down. So Lando tries to go inside, gets pushed on the grass, then goes trying to go round him on the outside, and he comes over again.
Yeah.
And you think, you are going to kill someone. It's shocking.
It's just unbelievable. And seeing all these McLaren fans all of a sudden just knowing exactly how Lewis fans felt in 2021. Like, this is what Max does. I wish we had our own editor that we could click our fingers at and they'd find all the tapes of me going, listen, yeah, he's great, fine, he wins races, but he's not challenged, and he's challenged. And what happened? I literally screamed down this mic at you boys the other week saying, someone challenge him and look what will happen. And look what will happen. I rest my case.
I think to be fair, and I think the best way that I've seen anyone analyse the situation, describe the situation, look into it, review it, was the way Anthony Davidson on Sky with the Sky pad reviewed the whole situation. He analysed that absolutely perfectly. And I there was not one thing that he said that I disagreed with. The first one, yes, I believe Max moved under braking way too much, and that should have been a penalty there and then. The second one, overly ambitious from Lando going down the inside. That's more on Lando. The third one, I mean, that's it. As I said, I haven't seen I haven't seen any of the full race. I've only seen clips, highlights, this, that, and the other. But watching that back, I looked at it and I was like, as soon as Max isn't in the fastest car and he knows he isn't, he's like, the way I see it, his way of racing is, if I can't win, no one else can. It's either me or no one else.
He can't settle for second.
No, as soon as he saw that Lando was posing more of a threat, I think it didn't help that Lando was getting overly frustrated. Don't get me wrong. I think even if they didn't crash that lap, I think they would have crashed the next lap or the lap after that. I think a crash between the two was inevitable because, and this goes back to Will's point a few weeks ago, even though we said, oh, Lando Norris isn't going to get a win because he doesn't have the composure, okay, he's now won a race and proved us wrong, and now he's in the fastest car. But I still think
you've got to know when to use it.
Yeah, if he gets too frustrated behind a car or within the changeable conditions in Russia, if there's something out of his control that's irritating him,
he needs to learn to
end
adapt.
up making a mistake. Which, I mean, Sky this whole weekend was saying Lando's in the title fight, Lando's in the title fight, Lando's in the title fight. And I get it. He's in the fastest car on the grid now, I believe, and he can pose a real threat to Max's title fight. However, if he drove like he drove in Austria, then it's not going to happen because he will make those mistakes when he goes wheel to wheel with Max.
But also as well, the title fight, that was probably the only thing over the course of the weekend that was annoying me, because Max has now come out of this weekend 81 points clear. And the reality is, Lando could win every other race, but if Max is coming second, you're not really going to be closing that gap anyway. It's not even the case of it's Max's to lose. Max has won it. But it's about having weekends like this where he's not winning every race weekend. That you have to accept that is this season. The remaining 12 races we have left, that is the season. We've been so fortunate that we've already got 5 different winners, 4 different constructors. We definitely did not see this before Miami, or I know Science had won in Australia, but that was because Max had DNF. So really, Miami was the change. But absolutely, Lando 100%. We take the mickey out of Will for his viral comment, but he's so right. He cannot deal with the pressure at the front, and the number one thing Lando Norris needs to work on, a bit rich coming from who am I to, it's his starts. His starts are not good enough. They're not. I'm not going to call him poor, but he never has a good getaway unless he's on like the second or third row.
You know what I was just thinking? Throwing about the phrase title fight, stuff like that. You know when like a young English player breaks through in the Premier League or something like that, and the media get on it instantly, and it can either make or break a player, because then as soon as it goes wrong, it's very much like that, because this whole Lando's in a title fight, Lando's suddenly in a title fight, comes back to that composure, and he's now got that in his head. I must now win. And that's when he gets erratic. That's when he makes split decisions. That's when he puts it all. Whereas if he, because people are saying, oh, he's in a title fight now, it's that added pressure. Let's be honest, he's not in a title fight. No. There is no title fight. He's just in the fastest car in second place.
And I'm getting really, 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 me and Will said this last week, Ollie, I'm getting really fed up of his fan base constantly voting for him driver of the day. He got it again.
How can you win driver of the day and DNF? Yeah. It doesn't make sense.
It's really starting to annoy me a bit now.
But it doesn't make sense. I saw a TikTok about this literally like half an hour ago, and it was someone showing all of the driver of the day things, and it's like, oh, Lando's in the fastest car, but he didn't win. How does he get driver of the day? Again. And I think it was this week, Spain, even the one for Russia, he got driver of the day when he decided to stay on soft tyres when it was absolutely lashing it down with rain in 2021, and he got driver of the day for that. And it is like, yeah, don't get me wrong, he's a good driver, and these past 2 years, I would say, he's really upped his game to, okay, he could one day potentially fight for a title. Not the next 2 years, I wouldn't imagine.
It's not any time
But
soon if he keeps being this erratic.
especially the past 4 or 5 races, if he's got the car underneath him, he probably could do it. But the fact that he has got the car underneath him at the minute and he's not doing it, it's kind of like, I don't know. To me, it's kind of like you've got the car, but you're not utilising it as well as you should be.
No, I agree.
Whereas, on the other hand, you look at what Max is doing. I mean, we don't know the true pace of the Red Bull. Let's be honest. You've got Perez in one car who's
in no man's land.
Who's underperforming.
Perez is in no man's
massively, and Max, who's performing well. He's the best driver on the grid. But then you look at it and you're like, okay, well, we don't actually know the true pace of that Red Bull. Realistically, that Red Bull could be performing at Perez's pace and Max is just totally exceeding it by massive amounts. Or the pace of the Red Bull is where Max is and Perez is totally underperforming. Or it's bang in the middle of the two of them and they should be finishing fourth every race. So either way, Max is doing well and Perez is doing awfully. So
I can't lie.
Listen, I was just going to say... No, but I will go to you, Will, because I was just about to say, I don't want to turn this into sort of slander on Lando, because you are right, he is in the fastest car, and it's sort of the mentality does need to change from, oh, wow, McLaren, I said this to you again, didn't I, Will, last week, the mentality does need to change now from, McLaren have made absolutely unbelievable strides, like, you know, look at them, the fact they're able to challenge. They're at the point now where they are the number one car. So it's not this underdog story anymore. It's they should be there. If they're not there, it's wrong.
So I
don't want to slander Lando too much, but regarding this weekend itself, the blame is to Verstappen. But the fact that they're friends is what made this even better, because when it was Lewis and Max, it was great in its own way because it was then Mercedes v Red Bull, and it was like even Bottas v Perez, and it was like it just, that was great for what it was. But this is even better because they finally, all this time I said Leclerc was never going to take a challenge to him. It was always Hamilton. Now, if Norris, if that friendship sort of breaks and we get like a Lewis Rosberg, where from friendships to no mates anymore, like that's brilliant. That's just what we need. Go on, Will.
I mean, I was going to say, we don't want to turn this into a Lando slander, but like you said, you can't go from the underdog. If anything, now it's not an underdog story. Oh wow,
exactly.
They're up there. Look at the underdog. It's oh wow, they're up there, but not at the top. So they're actually underachieving. You know, but I don't, like you said, I don't want to be a Lando slander. And yes, the full blame is on Max, but I am starting to get a bit fed up of the whole Norris glazing, shall we say?
Yeah.
Because it's very much like I hate the Norris glazing. How can you win driver of the day but DNF? Because people make TikTok edits about you and you're you're not slightly attractive. You're an attractive lad, you drive an F1, you're famous, and people make TikTok edits about you that I see girls that I'm mates with repost all the time. Like, all right, love, he's not going to see that, but sure. But yeah,
it's like I said before, like everyone has their favourite driver, and that's great, and it's great that people can get involved in the sport in one way or another. But even myself, I'm getting annoyed that it's
driver of the day is based on performance, not if they're attractive.
I know,
it's not even attractive like driver of the day, is it?
Kimi Raikkonen's last race, whenever that was now, what would that have been? 2017, 2018?
21, yeah. He retired before Latifi.
Yeah. Kimi Raikkonen?
Yeah, Raikkonen, yeah.
What? Yeah, he was still racing in 2021, was he?
Yeah,
oh,
he retired.
Sorry. Sauber, I remember Sauber, Alfa. Yeah, okay, well, sorry, I apologise. He got driver of the day because it was his last race in Formula One. Like, stop the woke nonsense, guys. Like, driver of the day is based on performance.
Yes, utter woke nonsense.
It is, though.
I'm posting that on the Twitter and Instagram every time Lando Norris gets driver of the day for not doing anything. Lando started first and finished third. Driver of the day. Yeah,
honestly. I'd actually love to know what he has to do for his supporters to actually go, nah, sorry, Lando, I can't do it this week, mate. Like, what does he have to do? Start on pole and finish sixth? Like, what? What's he got to do? But listen, regarding the weekend, I'd be very interested, Ollie, if you to clip what we had discussion there with Max and Lando and get the tip, because I don't know if you noticed. Obviously, I love doing the Twitter when I have the time for it, but the engagement comes from comment type, me putting comments on other posts, not our own posts. And I put, in fact, I'll pull it up now. I put one comment on, I think it was Matt Gallagher from obviously P1 and Matt and Tommy, and he basically said, who was at fault, Verstappen or Norris? Now, Verstappen has got 83% of the vote, so obviously 17% to Norris. And I put, anyone saying Norris doesn't know Will, right, in massive caps letters.
Hi.
And that got 32,000 engagements. They got 32,000 engagements, right? And people were commenting like left, right, and centre on it. Ha ha ha, anyone tried to pass Max by the outside, never drove karts in his life. Verstappen suckered him in, Norris fell for it, hook, line and sinker. Patience obviously isn't Lando's strong suit. I mean, he still steered into him, causing a puncture. Norris wasn't at fault, but still made it worse. Don't know. He locked up into Max, forced him off twice, and Max is the dirty one, like in quotation marks. Verstappen was ahead, it was his corner. Like, all these people coming out, like, saying this, and I'm just in total disbelief, because then even Matt Gallagher came out and said at the time, wild that 17% have genuinely voted Lando for this. Because it's true. It's Max. And Max didn't come out and claim responsibility, but even by his reaction, he wasn't aggressive. He knew that he was wrong.
Oh, I'll have to watch it back.
And the fact that Horner's like even defended it,
He's going to
infuriating. Do you know what Horner came out and said? By the way, do you know what Horner came out and said?
I haven't seen it.
So, because you know the bit where I said about Lando dive bombs, so he would have got a penalty for track limits. Horner's come out and gone, yeah, Lando knew he threw his race away, so he knew he was going to get a penalty, so he basically just tried ruining ours.
Whoa, nonsense.
Honestly, like, genuinely, I can't with that too. Like, I've tried really nicely to be nice recently. I think they do great things away from the sport as well, like the soapbox and all these amazing things they do, but...
Do they?
Just to make it even worse, right? So,
trying to get a job in F1, Will.
Obviously, you two know my love for cycling and the Tour de France and everything like that. They've even now got a majority stake in one of the cycling teams.
Really?
It just, everywhere you go, you just see Red Bull. It's just like, give it a rest, lads.
Listen.
But can I just one last thing on this point, and then we can actually move on, because I feel like we've probably spoken about this for about 20 minutes now. But I think the one really interesting thing, obviously, Ben, you said about Lando and Max really good friends, was when I think it was Natalie Pinkham, or it was one of the journalists in the pen after the race, came up to Lando and said, what's your relationship going to be like with Max?
Rachel Brooks, that's the one. Came up to Lando in the pen and said, what's your relationship with Max going to be like now? And Lando, really interestingly, didn't just say, oh no, we're still going to be friends, it's all going to be fine, we'll go over in a few days. Lando turns around and goes, well, if he holds his hand up and takes responsibility, then it can be all swept under the carpet. But if not, then I don't know how we're going to carry on. Yeah.
And for him to come out and say that to the media, I mean, say it in your team. And
but Rachel was cooking this weekend, because
Rachel threw him under the bus with Max.
Yeah,
great.
She then went to Max straight away and went, "What do you make of it all?" And it would have been so easy for Max. He would have been told by his team to go, yeah, look, I'll have to look into it. But she goes straight in with the Lando, is obviously who you're really, really good friends with, has come out and said that if you don't take responsibility for it, he doesn't know if you can continue your friendship. And Max is then all of a sudden like, we'll talk about it. We will talk about it. So like, wow, like, you know, I mean, I can't confirm this, by the way. I don't know this. I was talking to my flatmate about it, and he said apparently they were spotted having dinner last night, but I don't know if that's true. And I feel as though I would have seen this, so I don't think that is true.
It would have been so much bigger if that had happened.
We would have all
seen it. Like, even to be fair, if that had happened, even Sky Sports F1 would have got across that saying, "Oh,
This
look,
is the thing.
they're all looks like they're good friends now," something like that.
Exactly.
They would have got across that.
Exactly.
So I don't think that's true.
No, I don't think
But
so.
yeah,
But I'm sure just in case it is.
I know exactly what they would have captioned it as well. They would have captioned it, "Oh, the title rivals have now made up. They're not title rivals. Give it a rest."
I know, exactly.
The thing that really annoys me about Sky, right, is the fact.
Hey, careful, Ollie.
I know.
Careful.
I'm just.
Careful.
I know.
I love Sky.
I am going to be careful. It's not annoys me about Sky. It annoys me about the production of Formula One race weekends. Is sometimes they try and make nothing out of something. It was like, I mean, I saw this
something out of nothing.
Something out of nothing. It was
nothing out of something.
It's been a long week. It's been a long week. So I saw this on a YouTube video this morning, giving a recap of the F1 weekend, and at some point, the guy that I was watching said they tried to say, "Oh, rain might be coming," even though there's a 10% chance of rain.
I
know you're trying to make things entertaining, but let the racing do the speaking. You don't need to give us this. Oh,
but you know why they're doing that, Ollie?
Rain could come in 4 hours' time. Whoa.
No, I agree. I agree with you. But the reason they're doing this is because even they know deep down that they've struggled these past few years with the fact that racing's been so awful, really, and it's just a runaway winner, and they have to make out that every time he wins, it's like Max wins. It's like this amazing feat when we all knew it was going to happen anyway. So I know why they do it, and also it's part and parcel of working in the media. But from our point of view, yeah, it's like I know that exactly you're talking about is 10% of rain. Harry Benjamin says about 10% of rain, but it's not going to rain.
No.
And they're saying it could because the wind in the Austrian mountains is so strong that the course of the entire thing could just change.
Like the only place I will actually believe that if they say there's 10% of rain in Spa,
England.
or 10% chance of rain in Spa, I'll be like, you know what, it's going to rain. We've got a wet race. Anywhere else, I'm like, nah, 10%, that's nothing. But
it will definitely rain this weekend because we're in England. So
even if they say in Spa, oh yeah, there's 5% chance of rain, I'm like, right, cool, get the intermediates out, we're going racing.
Yeah.
Get the safety car out. We're doing half distance.
Get Bert Mylander out. Yeah, exactly.
I was out for 6 hours because of rain.
Oh, don't get me started on that.
Well, listen, I think just very quickly, because it's technically on the subject of Red Bull McLaren, obviously, like we did say, it was a sprint weekend as well. For the remainder of the weekend, Max was incredible. First in sprint qualifying, first in the sprint race, so that's 8 points for him. First in Grand Prix qualifying. He could have taken the clean sweep. And actually, Will, you're actually right, because Will said this off air. Like, to be fair, rather than just going through teams, if you just have 3 or 5 to the 5 points to talk about, it can sort of make it a bit easy, because I'm slowly remembering bits before I move on to the. But really rare of Red Bull this, and actually, whether people wanted to make the thing of it was Norris's fault, it was Verstappen's fault. The main underlying factor here is that Red Bull's 6.5 second pit stop put Verstappen in a position where he was being hunted by Norris. For the first, 50 odd laps up to that point, he built an 8-9 second lead. Lando wasn't going to close that. He would not have closed that. I know in Imola he came towards the end and closed it, but it was Max's to lose.
It's
and
one
a
thing to catch
6.5
up.
second stop from Red Bull that's
one
unheard
thing
of.
to catch up to a driver. It's another thing to overtake him. That's the saying that they say all the time, because it's true.
Red Bull have to take responsibility this weekend.
Absolutely. I think that it all comes down to that. But then straight on that outlap as well, lock up into turn 4.
Yeah.
Straight on that, literally lock up into turn 4 and puts himself under pressure as well. Probably through frustration from the pit stop. That's a lot of F's in one sentence. But it's
starting to show.
I think so, and
they're pressure cracks though. They are. They're not rust cracks or fatigue cracks. It's pressure cracks of not being dominant and having challenge, because they knew that pit stop had to be perfect. Well, not had to be perfect, had to be near perfect.
I'm just a bit annoyed that, I'm happy that Mercedes, are sort of, and I'm obviously going to get into them, are showing a bit of pace recently, but it seems to be that we can never have all 4 of the top constructors good at once, because what's happened to Ferrari all of a sudden?
Yeah, good
Like,
1 week bad. But it is nice though, as Mercedes fan. Well, for you, Ben, as well, who's a massive Mercedes fan.
oh,
It must be well.
massive
It
Lewis
must.
fan.
Yeah,
Like,
it must
I
be
love
nice. It
McLaren,
must
obviously
be
from
nice
Woking.
that you can just watch that chaos unfold and not have any like passion towards it. Obviously,
Oh
you've got
God,
passion
yeah.
towards it because it's Max v Lando and it's the sport you love. But it must be nice just to watch it and go, "Oh my
Do you
God,
know?
that's incredible! Lewis or George is now going to win."
But do you know what was really annoying actually about this instance specifically? So obviously, as you know, I do the tweets, so I'm always trying to keep a lookout. So I'm always on the following tab of Twitter, and I'm always trying to keep a lookout for like images, so I can post the images. But because I'm in my flat, so I'm watching on Sky Go, I'm like 30, 45 seconds behind. So Chris Medland had tweeted in like massive capital letters, they touched and they both got a puncture before I'd seen it.
Oh my God!
So I was actually a bit like, oh no, oh wait, what? And then I've had to
No.
like wait. I've had to wait like they were at, like completing the end of the lap, and I'm just waiting for them to get to turn 3, and I'm thinking, well, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? So I will admit, for me, so normally when I used to watch Formula One before the podcast, my phone was literally off. Like I wouldn't even sit on it; it was off in the corner of the room. So now, obviously, being on it, and then to be fair, this is the first time that I've actually heard something was going to happen. It took it away a little bit, but still, it was massive. So
Goal
good. But
notification on a dodgy stream.
yeah. The only last thing I would say, I know there's so much more of a weekend to unfold, but just very quickly, I feel as though it went under the radar a little bit. Piastri beating Norris in the sprint race and overtaking him on track. That's big.
Yeah, that is very big. That is very big.
Piastri
I
loves a
think
sprint race.
he does, he absolutely loves it. George Russell loves a qualifying session. Piastri loves a sprint race.
And Lewis
He
Hamilton loves the world championship.
loves P6. Um, but yeah, it's really. But that freeway fight
I heard that,
between
William.
all three of them was like incredible. You didn't know because we're gonna have contact then. We're gonna have a lot more contact then. But yeah, it is big, and I think going back to Lando being frustrated, that would have been on his mind as well. Your teammates just beating you. Also, how close was all three of us to a clean sweep? By the way, if Norris finished ahead of Piastri, oh my God!
Yeah, that's a great point, by the way. Like, we all had like the top 4. Like, we all had by the way, Ollie, me and you had either the same 5 or at least definitely the same 4 for like 2.
The direct same 5
We were
for the
just me and you had
sprint.
the exact same things, and as you know, I always put mine in before I ask for yours. So
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
like
yeah.
when Ollie's are coming through, I'm thinking, oh my God, he's literally just copied me.
But it's weird now how that we can predict. You know, at the start of the season, we were throwing in random names. I put a lot. We were throwing in like
You were putting
Alonso
Alonso in
there.
all the
Yeah.
time, yeah.
No, I was putting Alonso in like the old transfers. Like I say, you know, he's just every now and again he just pops up.
Can't even beat
But
Stroll now.
now it seems like we always that we put 6 drivers in. It's always the same. Well, same
Also, yeah.
6 or 5 in there.
By the way, actually,
you've reminded
me of something. You've reminded me of something, Will. And I'm only going to say it now because I might forget it by the end of the episode. I've been waiting. I've had this thought, and I don't want you. You can dismiss it, obviously, because it's the great thing about a trio, 2 and 1. But I don't want you dismissing that I've only just thought of this because I've had this idea ever since the last time we were all together, and the reason I haven't been able to pitch it is because I've been waiting until we're all together. But I have had an idea, and my idea is because Predictions League started from Saudi Arabia, meaning that there weren't any for Bahrain. I wanted to bring in this new, not rule, but this new bit to maybe, not that it needs spicing up, but this sort of new just thing in there, like Mario Kart when you drive through one of them question marks, right? That you can pick one weekend. If you pick it, no one else can pick it. And it can't be a sprint weekend, where you can get double points. And what I mean by that is, say, for example, you just got Verstappen and Norris 1-2, you actually could get 4 points, but only on, not for a race weekend, only on one thing, so only on one qualifying or one race of your choice. And if you have to claim it, then the other person can't for that whatever, only because we all miss Bahrain, so we're all missing something. And I've been thinking of it for ages, and I just wanted to wait until we were all
Would
there.
you claim it before or after? So, like, say you put in your predictions.
It has to be before. Oh my god, it has to be before. You can't just get like 4 points and go, oh, I want double on that. No, you can't do that.
Okay, yeah, fair.
You have to go.
I did think that, but...
You have to go. Oh, Monza qualifying. Do you know what? I might hand in my like double power card or whatever.
Let's do that after the summer break.
Yeah,
I say keep out it is now, and then maybe finalise it into the summer break.
But it can't be a sprint weekend. And there's something inside of me that's telling me as well it can't be Abu Dhabi because but I feel like you can't say that.
Because
that
could
also just
you
so
imagine,
annoying.
all of a sudden we've got 2021 all over again.
Yeah, like that would just be
great.
But yeah, I'm actually glad I've remembered that because I was going to bring it up a while ago. But yeah, listen. Also, that's pretty much McLaren spoken about. I don't even want to waste my breath on Perez, to be totally honest with you. He's not. He's don't know what he's doing.
Vibes.
Yeah,
in a salary is what he's doing, and I rate it. Chase that bag, Checo.
To be totally honest with you, I can't believe we've got 50 minutes in and we haven't mentioned that George Russell has won the Austrian Grand Prix. Driver of the day for me is George Russell, and the reason for that is because you have to be in the position to pick up on moments like this. Third place for him is still no easy feat in the fact that where Mercedes had started back in Bahrain, you have doesn't matter if he was net third realistically. He won the race because he was in the right place at the right time. And even Piastri in the end only finished 1.9 seconds behind, which is the second closest margin this season after Imola with Norris and Verstappen. So he had to hold off the fight. He had to hold off Toto as well, shouting in his ear in the braking zone. Have you seen that?
I have, yeah.
I haven't seen that well.
So Toto's come out and gone, it's my worst moment in my professional career and I'm so sorry and I'm never going to do it again. But it's like a common thing of when your driver is obviously in the braking zone, you don't do team radio, right? And he got so excited at what had obviously happened, the prospect, he comes over and goes, George, you can win this? And George turned around and goes, let me effing drive, like screams it back at Toto because it's like, and George come out and said after, I literally nearly crashed because he jump scared me. Like he knows that you shouldn't be doing that whilst I'm braking. But then after they had a giggle and a laugh about it, and he come over going, you were very, very excited there, Toto, very excited. And he went, I'm so sorry, I'm never going to do that. And Toto was actually quite ashamed of himself. Like he said, this is like really embarrassing of me. But so, yeah, George Russell, you know, he's obviously beaten Lewis in qualifying head-to-head. He's beaten Lewis in race head-to-head. He's ahead of him in the championship. He's definitely worked his way up to being Mercedes number one when Lewis leaves. I want to make that clear. When Lewis leaves.
I think he already is already, though.
No, but in terms of he's showing it on the track, is what I'm trying to say to you.
Yeah, but I feel like his priority now, he is now their number one driver on merit. Because he gets the upgrades first, he gets the pit stops first. You know,
if only the emails were sent this weekend and not last weekend.
Oh, that is true. We're back to 70% tampered Lewis car. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
But listen, George Russell, do you know, I was happy for him, and I don't know if this is a bad part within me, but I was really happy that I know it's only his second win anyway, but I was really happy that he celebrated the win as though he had won the race in the sense of he had put the work in. Like, I would have been really annoyed if he'd gone, yeah, that's brilliant, team. Like, obviously, we were there. I feel so sorry for Max and Lando. Like, no, we don't need all this. Oh, lovely, lovely. Like, oh, I was lucky. He celebrated as though for 71 laps, he started on pole and just was amazing. And I liked that of it. Do you know what I mean? So I was actually really happy for him. And of course, like with any time, like all the way back in Brazil 2022 when he won it, I'm like, I wish it was Lewis, but I'm not going to do that because I'm still happy for George. And just like I said earlier, 5 different winners, 4 different constructors.
That'd have
We
been some
definitely did not
weekend.
see that coming.
That'd have been some weekend if Lewis had won that, though. That'd have been some Sunday. If it had been Lewis, Max and Lando take each other out, Lewis wins, Jude Bellingham decides to show up,
Yeah, yeah. Can you?
and
Oh my word!
some
Can you imagine?
Sunday that'd be.
And
Honestly,
I
I
just
think
don't
I'd
think I would
still
be
be.
alive right
I,
now.
I would have had to have my liver pumped of the amount of alcohol I would have consumed if that had all come together. That'd have been incredible.
Yeah,
Wow, the
honestly,
stars could have aligned. Wow.
But the thing is, I said this to my flatmate earlier on. I don't know what this is. I don't want to call it delusion. Reality is, I think it's delusion. Anytime we go into a British Grand Prix weekend, I always believe Lewis can win it. Lewis could have come 19th this weekend on pure pace, and I'd be telling you he's going to win the Silverstone Grand Prix this weekend. You know, so but listen, I don't want to jump the gun because we've still got to debrief everything else. I think George Russell, qualified third as well in qualifying. In the sprint race as well, finished fourth. He had a solid weekend, and Mercedes have definitely shown progress. Of course, not enough to have won a race, and they're not stupid. They know they obviously only won because of what happened at the front. But a couple races ago, they wouldn't have even been in that position to exploit that. So that is a win for them as well.
Yeah, I agree. So your driver of the weekend is Russell.
So yeah, actually, my driver of the day is Russell, and I'll let you go. But my person of the weekend, if you will, or like my, human, and that's basically non-driver, goes to Andrea Stella.
Why?
The comment that he came out with post-race about Red Bull and Max Verstappen, he hit the nail on the head. It is so spot on.
What do you say?
I knew you were going to say that, and now I have to find it.
I'm a working guy. I don't see this stuff. He hasn't even seen the race.
So he came out and spoke to Ted after the race, right? And this is what he says, right? Brilliantly put. So well put. I see that the entire population in the world would know who's responsible except for a group of people. But the problem behind it is that if you don't address these things, honestly, they will come back. They have come back today because they were not addressed properly in the past when there was some fights with Lewis that needed to be punished in a harsher way. You learn now to race in a certain way, which we consider fair and square. And he also said this as well, which I thought was brilliant. He said, the fact is, we have so much respect for Red Bull, so much respect for Max. They don't need to do this. It's a way to almost compromise your reputation. Why would you do that? And I just thought he's so right. Like, he's great. Like, it's brilliant because he's basically saying, with all due respect, we're not Mercedes. We're not trying to have this rivalry where, we're this and we're calling, like, we really respect what you do. We think you're great. We think like you're amazing competitors. Don't go and ruin it by being idiots, basically. Like, in the sense of Verstappen didn't need to do that to Norris, and Red Bull don't need to make out that they had no wrong in it. I just think he's great. And the fact that he brought back comments of 2021 as well, obviously for me, I was like, you tell him, mate. So brilliant. Massive respect for him.
Ollie, give me your driver of the weekend.
I mean, I didn't see any. I've said this so many times. I'm like a broken record, but I'm just going based off results and from positions that I've seen. I'm gonna go Oscar. 2 podiums, good qualifying in both qualifying sessions, I believe.
Well,
so I'm gonna go with Oscar.
He had the track limits, didn't he, Ollie? He had the track limits. He should have started third, but ended up starting 7th. But it's harsh, really, that because obviously Austria, we didn't even mention Austria this year. They, because of the 1,200 track infringements last year, they added the gravel trap, didn't they? But to run over the gravel trap and then deem that as an invalid lap time, you're losing time surely by running over gravel. And if you're not, then you haven't implemented it right. So I think they've made good strides, but maybe they still need to tweak something for next year because I think that was really harsh on Oscar. Really harsh.
So,
because otherwise we could be saying Oscar Piastri has won his first Grand Prix this weekend.
I said earlier, it's based on performance, but my driver of the day, it has to be Max because,
Yeah, I do get that.
like I said, yes, what happened in the race was 100% his fault, but like I said, the only reason why that happened was, and you said it yourself, Red Bull need to take responsibility for the pit stop that put him under
Yeah.
jeopardy. If that pit stop doesn't happen, we're saying that Max Verstappen gets a clean sweep of the Austrian Grand Prix.
And
Sprint
you are
pole,
right.
fastest lap in the sprint race, victory in the sprint race, and pole for the main Grand
And
Prix
you are
qualifying.
right as well. Realistically, it's a sprint weekend, so it's not really driver of the day, is it? It's driver of the weekend. So actually, for
Exactly.
that, I will accept that.
I know we've slandered him for 30 minutes for the contact at his fault. But like I said, I feel like yes, the contact's his fault, but the reason why that happens is because Red Bull put him in that situation.
No, I agree with that. I totally agree. Fair play. And Ollie,
What, my drive of the day or my opinion on it?
driver of the weekend or something?
He said Piastri.
Oh, of course. Yeah, of course. Well, realistically, then I'm still going to stick with Russell just because I think that he was always sort of up and around there anyway, and then obviously he's won the race. I suppose we sort of just shuffle through it. Obviously, Lewis Hamilton, I think, he's obviously disappointed with his weekend, but he had contact with science. So he actually finishing fourth. Again, I know it's net sixth, but finishing fourth with a hole in the side of your car, in your side pod, I think that's pretty good. And he will be back this weekend on the podium. I can already see it. He loves a podium at Silverstone. He can't help himself. He absolutely loves it. And I will be there. We will be there. We will be there for that 100%.
More than you believe.
Yeah. Ferrari, Carlos Sainz, again, would have been net fifth, third in the end. He has taken 50% podiums in races that he's taken part in this year because obviously he did miss a race. So for him, that's brilliant. 5 out of 10. He even came out and said after the race, I'm just enjoying it as much as I can because I know next year this isn't going to happen. Basically hinting that he is signing for either Williams or I think he might go to Alpine if I'm being honest. But either way, a team that don't get podiums.
Alpine would be smarter.
Yeah, I think obviously qualifying, really wasn't any good for them. Fourth for Sainz, I don't think it's great because he got done by Russell, which they won't like, and then obviously Charles being sixth is obviously not good. That is obviously in the main qualifying, and in the sprint as well. Leclerc finishing seventh is just I don't know what's happened to him since Monaco. It's almost like the Monaco curse has turned into the post Monaco curse now. You can have finally we'll grant you a good Monaco race for the Monegasque driver, but actually anything after us now, no, because this is now the second time in 3 races that he has actually finished a race not in the points. So it's not a case of he's DNF'd, like he's not finished in the top 10, but he's crossed the checkered flag. So that's really bad. He finished 1 minute and 7 seconds off of George in the end, so not good for him. 4 pit stops as well. 4 pit stops because he obviously had the contact at the start and just not good for him in the slightest. And Ferrari, as you know, I'm a big fan of Fred, and I don't want to see him do bad because obviously Lewis is going there next year. But something been a bit off recently, but I don't think it's anything to worry about long term.
So
It would be bad.
So you mentioned there about Sainz. Probably you both saying Sainz might go to Alpine. I've seen a lot of stuff on social media saying that there was a bit of to and fro and controversy with the 2 drivers again. Can you both just run me through what happened?
What with Ocon and Gasly?
Yes.
Oh my god, yeah. So again, up into turn 3, handbags. I don't think they touched. But yeah, did push Gasly wide up to turn 3 off the track. But the main thing is that once Gasly got by, he just came over on the radio and said ciao. Yeah, so it's
I've just turned into Gary Neville.
And then even in Gasly's post race thing, he doesn't even want to give Ocon his time. And he doesn't even want to waste his breath on it. He was literally got asked the question about again you've got friction, and he's just there I honestly don't know what to say anymore. He's so done with him, so done with him. And I'm sure it's vice versa as well, but Gasly's really not hiding it. So that's what that was. And obviously as well, do you know what? Because obviously, I love a fact, I love a stat. What's really interesting about this weekend as well is that we've obviously spoken about Alpine and how they're doing really bad, and they are 8th in the Constructors' Championship, which for them is horrific. But Gasly finished P10, obviously, for Alpine this weekend, which is his 4th consecutive point finish, which is also his best streak since early 2021.
Oh,
So
wow.
not only are they sort of regaining a bit of pace and obviously getting in the points, but this is Gasly's best streak since when he had that incredible year for AlphaTauri, where he was like finishing top 5 every week. And I know that these are 10th and it's only a point here or 2 points there.
It's huge.
But it's big. It's big. And especially with this battle that they seem to have going now, because I want to talk about Haas. P6 and P8 is massive for them. And coincidentally, it's their best points finish since Austria 2022, when Mick Schumacher came 6th and Magnussen came 8th again.
Oh.
It's, I love Haas. Ever since they have not been, genuinely, ever since they've not been a backmarker team, I actually love them. And I've said this to you before, maybe either was you last week, Will, or just in general, I've said this. I cannot make my mind up on Kevin Magnussen. I think I love him. But I will genuinely also call him out when he is being horrendous. But I actually love Kevin Magnussen. He is probably in my top 5 drivers, but I don't know if I want to admit that. Not top 5 drivers in terms of he's a top 5 driver, but just in terms of personality.
He provides the entertainment.
He does. He's like such an old school driver in a modern day series, and I love that.
Oh my!
I could see Kevin Magnussen driving in the 90s.
He has got IndyCar driver vibes written all.
IndyCar.
Bit of Stingray Rob and K-Mag.
He does not care about what car is in the way. He is going into that car. He wants that position.
IndyCar aura.
Honestly, so
IndyCar aura.
K-Mag isn't signed on to Haas for next year, is he?
No.
Get him in IndyCar right now. He will thrive in that sport. He will do
Behrman
next
and
year.
Porsche take Haas. IndyCar.
Yeah, Haas next year haven't got anyone tied down, but obviously Behrman, we all know they do, and it depends on, because if Magnussen doesn't get that seat, then that's him done in Formula One, which I think would be quite harsh, but also maybe understandable.
IndyCar. Just get him into IndyCar. Brilliant.
I agree with that. But obviously for Alpine, then I jumped a bit there because Haas, I think, had a brilliant weekend. They jump into 7th, so they jump Alpine again in the Constructors' Championship. Just to actually, by the way, read that Constructors' Championship out. Obviously, Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes, Aston Martin, RB, Haas, Alpine, Williams, Sauber. Sauber's still the only team yet to score. I do worry a bit for Williams because I love James Vowles so much, but it's not clicking.
One hand behind their back. They're like Red Bull, they're fighting with one hand behind their back. But
even Albon is not really performing as well as we know he can. So it's got to be the car. Obviously. But yeah, Alpine are still only on 9 points, whereas Haas are on 19. Now, 10 points, as we know, towards the back of the constructors' table, the bottom. That's a lot of points. That could take you 9 races to achieve. Like 1 or 2 hits so, but I feel as though Alpine can have a strong second half of the season, get quite a few 7th, 8th places, I believe. I reckon they can. I don't want to discuss this too much, but obviously I don't know if you're aware about Yuki Tsunoda's weekend.
Yes, with what he said.
Which is not right. And
we all knew that Yuki was a hothead, but there's a limit.
Exactly, but I actually almost appreciate that he came out and apologised straight off the bat. And even though it is put down to the fact that English isn't his first language, he didn't really use that as an excuse. He didn't just come out and go, "Well, I didn't know what it meant, did I? This is not fair." Like he's gone, "Oh, I'm sorry, I've clearly picked this up in and used it, wrong, and I shouldn't have used that word." Paid the fine, accepted responsibility, apologised for it. Which I think you could say maybe some other drivers in some other teams wouldn't do that. So actually, I respect him for that, and he obviously isn't going to make that mistake again. You can only judge people off of, I believe, like if they make the same mistake twice, which I don't think he will. So, but not a good weekend for him either on the track, which is a shame because he had been doing well. Aston Martin are a funny one because the fact that they've got 58 points and are holding down 5th, I don't feel as though it's right. This weekend, Alonso finished 18th. He did get fastest lap, but obviously don't get a point for that.
He did get a
And I
penalty
just,
as well, though. He did get a 10-second penalty.
he did get a penalty. He ran straight into the back of Joe. Just weird, really. Weird, very weird. Aston Martin. I think Alonso. I'm not going to say he's given up, but I think he signed his last contract and was just like.
I feel like he shouldn't have signed that contract.
No, I agree. I said that as well. I said that at the time. I was really taken back by it, but
it's not going to get much better.
Le Mans.
Yes.
So that's that. Obviously, Daniel Ricciardo did get a P9. Technically, would have been a net P10. That's a point. That's 2 points for him. Well done, Danny Rick. Yeah. So
put that
I'm a
on
little
your
bit.
PR.
Yeah,
Still
I'm a bit annoyed.
rise.
I'm a bit annoyed that Verstappen still got fifth. I don't really feel like that 10-second penalty did anything to him. And the fact that Norris so Red Bull actually still extend their lead when I feel as though they shouldn't have. That's a bit annoying.
Because he finished, that doesn't carry over to a 3-place grid penalty for next week.
Yeah,
it's slightly annoying.
Exactly, which is a bit annoying. But then Norris got a 5-second penalty in DNF. So will they carry his over to Silverstone? I'm not sure. Probably not. Otherwise we would have already heard about it.
I think no, because it was given to him while he was still going. I think it's if you DNF and then get the penalty, it carries over. Because that's the reason why Perez got the 3-place grid penalty after. Right.
Either way, though, I think team of the weekend is McLaren. There's a whole load of trophies that they've taken home with them this weekend. Really, really, really positive weekend for them. But I think it's like I said at the start, it's now more about not saying, oh, look at the strides they've made. It's been great. It's been a whole year now. The first race of last year where it changed for them was Austria. So it's now been a full year. It's about time that they actually, do a max, really, and start on pole, drive off into the distance. And even though they're the races we don't want, and we want, to be fair, races like yesterday, as in Austria Sunday's race, 30th of June, to show that they are a top team again. That's what they need to do. So, listen, that's that. I don't know if there's anything else you really want to talk about, because I can move on to the predictions.
I think the main talking point of the weekend was the contact. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it seems that the rest of the race and the sprint weekend as well, you had the battle at the start of the sprint, but then obviously fizzled out, and the race itself fizzled out until lap 59. So, yeah, I think that is the main talking point. But it's such a hot topic that you can't just gloss over it and then move on. You have to explore all the angles to the point where things to say, like I just have.
Let's get a yawn count on Will. Honestly, Ollie, the amount of yawns he did in our one last week, I thought, God, is my company really that bad?
I'm a tired man. I'm a tired man. I still turn up and I put the effort in. I give 100% I can, but I'm a tired man. I'll tell you that now.
Well, listen, I don't even want to talk about a prediction league this week, but I'm going to. Now, a sprint weekend, and what makes me laugh so much even still is that the most points someone has ever scored in a weekend is both mine and Will's double pointer, where we scored 10. And what's really funny about that is both times we scored a double pointer, we didn't score anything in qualifying. So meaning that 10 is still the highest scored. We have now had 3 sprint race weekends. So naturally, obviously, 40 points being the most, but the second most being 16 points. If you still got 4, 4, 4, and 4. And yet 10 is still the highest achieved. So even in sprint weekends, no one seems to be able to score more than 10 points.
Sprint weekends are so weird. Like you can't tell, because I know. Yeah, it's so weird because 1 minute you'll go from being like someone will do really well in the sprint race, but then completely. You could have had, for example, you could have had Piastri win the sprint race. So you think, oh, okay, qualifying that afternoon, put him up in the top 3, and then he'll come 7th. And it's just like,
the thing is as well, I would actually put money on that no one's going to get a full 5 this year on qualifying. But on the race, because you know where someone's starting, you can sort of go, oh, they might drop down 1, they might go up 1. But qualifying, apart from maybe saying that Verstappen pole, like you actually I feel like to get a top 5 in qualifying, you should get triple points. We're not going there. We're not doing that.
No.
Anything for this man to win. anything.
But listen, right? So I will go through it all. But this weekend, Ollie scored 9 points,
Ooh.
which is your highest you've ever scored in a race weekend.
Whoa!
But unfortunately, Will also scored 9 points,
Oh,
and I only scored 7. So Ben, so obviously in sprint quali, I scored 2. I got Verstappen 1 and Sainz 5. Ollie scored 2 because he got Verstappen 1, Norris 2. And Will scored 3 because he got Verstappen 1, Norris 2, Russell 4. So, after the sprint qualifying, Will was leading the championship by 1 point. We then went into the sprint race, where I scored 2 with Verstappen 1, Sainz 5, and Ollie also scored 2 with Verstappen 1, Sainz 5, but Will only scored 1 with Verstappen 1. So then after the sprint race,
I think I went with some
it was level again between me and Will.
Now, could you imagine, by the way, could you imagine, like, you would have had to put money on this if you got this right, but could you imagine someone just took the shot and went, oh, you know what, I'm gonna put Russell first, Piastri second, and I'm just gonna go crazy and think Norris and Max are gonna come together and they're not gonna finish in the top 3.
But who was it? I'm trying to remember who it was. Someone predicted it. It was the tweet's gone viral. I saw it before the race took place.
I've seen it.
Did they predict the top 10? It wasn't just the top, or was that another week?
That was last week. Someone predicted the entire top 10 last week, an hour before the race, and got it perfect.
I'm trying to remember.
Just makes us look stupid.
I know who it is. That Jarno the sim racer.
Jarno
Opmeer. He predicted that Norris and Verstappen wouldn't finish or would contact, and that he didn't say Russell would win, but he said that neither of those will win. So it did get me thinking. Oh, but I thought no, because I can't risk out losing many points. You could at least get 2 nailed on, let's say. But anyway, qualifying. This is where my weekend started falling apart. I only scored 2 in qualifying. Will scored 3 in qualifying, and Ollie scored 4. You were so close to your first clean sweep,
and it would have been Ollie one as well. I was at work as well, so I wouldn't even have known.
I got Verstappen 1, Norris 2. Will got Verstappen 1, Norris 2, Sainz 4. Ollie got Verstappen 1, Norris 2, Russell 3, Hamilton 5.
Oh, didn't you put Leclerc 4?
He put Leclerc instead of Sainz.
My God.
You were so close to your first one.
You know what's funny? Finney has been berating me for the past 2 weeks, saying, why do you keep putting Leclerc top 5? He never gets top 5. Why do you keep putting him there? And I'm starting to think, you know what? What am I doing?
Next week. He's going to do it next week.
See it again.
It's going to be the wrong Ferrari.
Leclerc pole, Leclerc win is going to be my prediction for next week.
And then in the race, I scored 1 point, Hamilton 4th. You scored 1 point, Ollie, with Hamilton 4th. And Will again got so lucky. He got Hamilton 4 and he got Sainz 3. So
I'll tell you what, Sainz this weekend was actually goated. He actually was. I'm changing my driver of the day just because he got me this many points. He got me a point in every single session. Carlos Sainz, I love you. There you go.
So the final table at the end of Austria, in third place is Ollie with 39 points.
Ollie's brought it back
for the first time in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. First time in 8 race weekends, I am no longer the leader of the championship. I am in second with 48. So, Ollie, you are only 9 points behind. But the leader and the first person to get to the half century of 50 points is Mr. William Smith.
Drop a 50 bomb halfway through. 50 points, to be fair, halfway through a calendar. I think that's quite good.
Listen, though, Will, don't make out as though you're this humble man on camera. If you want to go big, go big.
No, listen, mate. It's a season.
Don't make out as though you're humble and I'm not.
You don't win a race into turn 1. You don't win a race into turn 1. It's an endurance. It's a marathon. It's a sprint.
Mr. Endurance Le Mans over here.
Facts. You got to wait. You got to wait. Listen, I take.
You know what we are.
Look, the guys, the team.
You're Le Mans 24 hour because you're building up. You don't mind sitting in behind. I'm the Indy 500 because how many laps you lead, you also get points. So I've been leading for a long time because if you lead a lap in IndyCar, you actually get points for how many laps you lead. And Ollie's the Monaco Grand Prix because he's only good every once a year.
Listen.
I'm gonna be living off that qualifying performance for the whole season.
I know. And the thing is as well, so hang on a minute. So you would have, where would you then be now? So you'd have
Add another 5 onto it. Add another 6 onto it.
6 on. So yeah,
You'd
you'd
be on
only
45. 45, yeah.
So you'd only be 3 behind me and 5
But
behind Will.
listen, I just want to say, very grateful
So
to
thanks
be
for
at the
listening
top.
to the podcast.
Team were great this weekend. All the guys back in the garage, but still we need to move in. Still we rise. Hashtag blessed. Hashtag motivation. Hashtag still we rise. Let's go, guys. Go team. Yeah, really happy.
Wow.
I think that might be the best place to end it, Ben.
I think you might be. I think you might be right. To be
Can't
honest,
have that man yapping on about victories like that.
Listen, stay humble, please. Stay humble. Stay humble.
Yes.
Still we rise. Still we rise.
Did you know though that Max Verstappen's P5 was actually so that it ended his run of 5 consecutive podium finishes at the Red Bull Ring.
Oh wow!
Wow.
The Red Bull Ring is his circuit, so that's big. That is big. But yeah, that was the Austrian Grand Prix weekend. I know last year me and Will did a preview to Silverstone. We won't unfortunately have time to do that this year because of all our work commitments, but I can categorically assure you now that I'm going to try my best, despite going away, to try and just rinse concept because, boy, do you know how much this is my favourite race weekend on the entire calendar? I love everything about Silverstone. I've done an entire thing on it before. If you want to go back and listen to that way back when, I cannot wait. And I don't even ask for a Lewis win, just even a Lewis third, just Lewis on the podium means a lot to me. And I also want to say I don't condone booing, but I think after what has happened this weekend, Max Verstappen is going to probably hear it quite a bit from the fans happening to Golden Boy Lando. So there you go.
Can I put a prediction in now? Lando driver of the day. There you go. Put that in the prediction league.
And Sky say it's going to rain.
Oh my God! Could you imagine if we done points for driver of the day? It'd just be 1 point. We'd all just get 1 point guaranteed every week.
Yeah, but to be fair, we were getting that at the start of the year with saying Verstappen on pole and Verstappen to win.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
All right, boys. Well,
it's the banker. It's the one that never left.
Yeah, exactly. That is so true. Oh my God! You know what? Might as well. I'm actually going to go make that TikTok now, and I'll say
yes,
Norris getting over the day. I'm going to make that now. All right, cool. All right. Well, yeah. Thanks, boys. And we'll be back in a week's time. And Ollie, please do try and get a clip of us talking about Verstappen and Norris because I think that might do quite well.
I certainly will. Don't you worry.
All right, nice one. See you again for episode 13 in a week's time.